إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله تعالى من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء، واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم، ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد, we begin by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and sending salutations upon the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes this gathering of ours a means of success for us in this life and in the life hereafter, inshaAllah ta'ala. Throughout the year, Allah Azza wa Jal, He gives us many opportunities and chances for us to rectify our relationship with Allah Azza wa Jal. And the manner in which He does this is that He gives certain days, certain months, and certain nights virtue over other days, nights, and months. And by doing this, Allah Azza wa Jal encourages the believers to take benefit of these virtuous days, nights, and months. And as we know, next week we are going to be witnessing one of these months, the blessed month of Ramadan. The month of Ramadan is a month in which the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he would address the companions just before Ramadan would enter to remind them about the opportunity that they have been given. And he used to say that when Ramadan enters, the gates of Jannah are opened, the gates of Jahannam are closed, and the shayateen are shackled, they are chained. Now when one ponders over this hadith, in other words, Allah Azza wa Jal is giving you a head start in order to gain His mercy and forgiveness. He has made ibadah easy for us in this month. And it is a witness that when Ramadan enters, all of a sudden we have this yearning towards the masjid. All of a sudden we have this yearning towards the Quran. We have a yearning towards seeking the forgiveness and the mercy of Allah Azza wa Jal. Why is it that we see outside of Ramadan those people who never prayed, who never entered the masjid, who hardly used to pick up the Quran and recite it, they are all of a sudden inspired? They are the very people who are beating those people who are regular to the masjid. This is from the rahmah of Allah Azza wa Jal. Ramadan shows us our true ability. By Allah Azza wa Jal making ibadah easy for us in the month of Ramadan, it reflects what we are capable of. It's a very important point. Often we doubt ourselves that I cannot stay away from sin. I cannot recite the Quran daily. I cannot come to the masjid and perform my salah on time in jama'ah. Shaitan deceives us into thinking that we can't do these things. But you see, Ramadan, it reflects our true ability. It is a positive month. It is a month in which we see what we are capable of. That yes, we can perform salah on time. We can stay away from haram. We can recite the Quran. But this is from the deceptions of shaitan that we start believing, we start looking down upon ourselves, and we start thinking that we are not capable of these things. So now Allah Azza wa Jalla gives us the month of Ramadan to remind us that, oh my slave, this is what you are capable of. Why are you wasting your talent? Why are you wasting your energy? So every year Ramadan comes to remind us. And this is why Allah Azza wa Jal makes ibadah easy for His slaves. He opens the doors of Jannah for His slaves. A reflection of His mercy. And a reflection that the paths that are leading to Jannah are many. The paths that are leading to Jannah, they have become easy for us. And He closes the gates of Jahannam as a reflection to show that the paths that lead to Jahannam have now become difficult because you are not attracted to sin anymore. This is one of the barakah of Ramadan. Now in the month of Ramadan, the verses that talk about the month of Ramadan, they mention three things. They mention number one, fasting, the obligation of fasting, and a few legal rulings pertaining to fasting. And number two, those verses talk about the Quran and how the Quran was revealed in the month of Ramadan. And number three, the verses thereafter go on to talk about Jumu'ah. Now this third one, I'm going to talk about inshallah next week. But today we're going to focus on the first two, fasting and the Quran. We have mentioned before that the objective of fasting, Allah mentioned that it is so that you may achieve taqwa. Now in order for us to understand the objective, let's give a definition of taqwa. How do we define taqwa? We hear this word a lot in the Quran, in the hadith, in lectures. We hear this word taqwa being repeated often. But how do we define it? How do we understand the reality of taqwa? First of all, if you look at the linguistic analysis of the word taqwa, it comes from the word wiqaya. Wiqaya. Wiqaya means to save yourself from something. Wiqaya means to place a barrier before you in order to protect yourself. So based on this, how we understand taqwa is that quality that stops you from committing sin. You have placed a barrier between yourself and the disobedience of Allah Azza wa Jal. And because you have placed a barrier between yourself and sin, then what happens? You will be able to go to those things that please Allah Azza wa Jal. So this is what taqwa means. We translate it as the fear of Allah. We translate it as God consciousness. But when we truly think about the linguistic analysis of the word, it gives it much more meaning. Are we placing barriers in front of us so that we are blocked from sin, from the disobedience of Allah Azza wa Jal? Ramadan, fasting helps us do this. This is why the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when talking about the benefits of fasting, he said, "As-siyamu junnah," that fasting is a shield. It protects you from the attacks of shaitan. Why did he use the word shield? Because in this dunya you are in a constant battle with shaitan. It is like a physical battle. Which is why when Allah talks about shaitan, Allah Azza wa Jalla says, "Inna ash-shaytana lakum aduwwun fattakhidhuhu aduwwa." The shaitan is an enemy for you, like an enemy in a battlefield. So treat him like an enemy. How would you treat an enemy? Would you open the doors for the enemy and say, come and attack me, no problem. You will place security measures in place. You will ensure that this enemy does not come anywhere near you. You will have strategies in place to protect you from shaitan and his tricks and his plans and the schemes that he has against you. This is what fasting does. As-siyamu junnah. It is a shield. It protects you from haram. How does it protect you from haram? One may ask. How does it protect you from the disobedience of Allah? And why is it that fasting leads to taqwa? One may ask these questions. How come fasting leads to taqwa? Because if you think about it, when you are fasting, you are staying away from three things. Number one, eating. Number two, drinking. And number three, intimacy with your spouse. These three things from dawn till dusk, from Fajr time till Maghrib time. It is not permissible for us to engage in these three things. We stay away from these three things. These three things are normally permissible. Yes? These three things are normally permissible. But in the month of Ramadan, when we start our fast, or we make our intentions, at the time of suhoor, we partake in the pre-dawn meal, and thereafter we go to the masjid, we perform our Fajr Salah, our fasting has begun. Now we stay away from these three things, which are normally permissible. Allah Azza wa Jalla is trying to prove to us, if you can stay away from something which is normally halal, you can stay away from those things which are haram. And this is how we instill taqwa. Because now, for example, if we are alone somewhere, be it in our houses, in our workplaces, in our cars, you have a bottle of water. There's no one in your car. No one's looking at you. Why is it that you don't open that bottle of water and drink it? Because you know Allah Azza wa Jalla is watching you. And this is what the essence of taqwa is. To be aware of the fact that Allah Azza wa Jalla is always watching you. Now when a person instills this reality in his heart and in his mind, even after Ramadan, Ramadan trains a person to develop these habits. To always be aware of your Creator. To always be aware that Allah Azza wa Jalla is Alim, that Allah Azza wa Jalla is Basir. He is all insightful, He is all knowledgeable, He is aware, خَبِيرٌ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ. He is aware of everything that you are doing. When this reality sets in our hearts, this is when taqwa will enter our hearts. So this is the benefit of fasting. When you see fasting, it's not simply about just leaving food and drink and intimacy. Fasting is not just about that. Which is why the scholars, they mention there are 3 levels of fasting, and take note of this. Take note of this, remember this. We are mentioning this before Ramadan starts. So that when Ramadan starts, we can act upon it straight away. 3 levels of fasting. When Ramadan starts, ask yourself, which level have I achieved? Every day that you fast, what level was my fasting today? At the time of iftar, don't just occupy yourself in worldly activities until the adhan of Maghrib. Spend 10-15 minutes before iftar reflecting on how your fast went. What level did I achieve? And engage in dua. The scholars mention that the lowest level of fasting is the fasting of the common people. The awam, the common people. And that is the bare minimum. That's صوم عن الأكل والشرب والجماع. Fasting from eating, drinking and intimacy. That's the bare minimum, which everyone does. Staying away from these 3 things. But then the scholars mentioned that there are 2 levels above this level. The second level is the fasting of the elites. The fasting of the elites. They say the fasting of the elites is the fasting of the limbs. Sawm al-jawarih. Fasting of the limbs. What does that mean? You don't just stay away from eating, drinking and intimacy. Your eyes also fast. Your tongue also fast. You don't do anything haram while you are fasting, which is the entire objective of fasting. That's why the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he mentioned in one hadith that there are some people that the only thing that they achieve from their fasting is hunger and thirst. They don't achieve anything else. They don't achieve any of the rewards that Allah Azza wa Jalla has placed in fasting. They stay away from food and drink. They stay away from intimacy the whole day. But they engage in haram, they engage in backbiting, they engage in lying, they engage in abusing, they engage in cheating when it comes to transactions. They engage in deceiving people while they are fasting. The Prophet ﷺ says that there are certain people that their fasting is at this level where they are engaged in haram, but they're still staying away from food and drink. The only thing they've achieved in the sight of Allah Azza wa Jal is hunger and thirst. Why? Because they have not understood the objective of fasting. Which is why the second level is the fasting of the elites. Sawm al-jawarih. Let your eyes fast and let your tongue fast. Which is why Jabir radiallahu anhu, he mentioned that when you are fasting, فَلْيَصُمْ سَمْعُكَ وَبَصَرُكَ وَلِسَانُكَ. He said, let your hearing fast, let your eyesight fast, and let your tongue fast. And then he mentions that when you are fasting, وَلْيَكُنْ عَلَيْكَ وَقَارٌ وَسَكِينَةٌ. When you are fasting, let there be composure in the way you conduct yourself. Let there be tranquility in the way you conduct yourself. And then he said, وَلَا تَجْعَلْ يَوْمَ صَوْمِكَ وَيَوْمَ فِطْرِكَ سَوَاءً. He said, don't make the day that you are not fasting and the day that you are fasting, don't make them equal. There should be a difference in your character, which reflects the importance of fasting of the elite. But then, the scholars mentioned that there is a third level. There is a third level. And this third level, only very few people reach this level. They call it the fasting of the elite of the elite. Yeah? The fasting of the elite of the elite. They are right at the top of the chain. And they are those people who obviously they stay away from eating, drinking, intimacy. they protect their gaze, they protect their hearing, they protect their tongues from haram. But then the fasting of the elite are those people who stay away from all of those things that do not concern them. Worldly matters that they don't need to engage in. And how we can understand this is our devices, our phones. Yeah? Staying away from social media in the month of Ramadan. Wasting time on applications such as TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. Sometimes you go on these applications with the intention of benefiting from a talk, and then the algorithms are such that it's going to lead you to something completely different. And you're going to realize that you're wasting 2-3 hours of your time. Yes, you are fasting, but the fasting of the elite is they abandon all of those things that do not concern them. They free up their time with 2 things, or they occupy their free time with 2 things. Number 1, the remembrance of Allah, i.e. the Quran, tasbih, istighfar, tawbah, all of these things, and contemplation. Contemplation, tafakkur. They contemplate over the reality of the world. They contemplate over the Quran. They contemplate over their relationship with Allah. They contemplate over their lives. Where is my life going? What am I achieving? How am I preparing for the akhirah? They contemplate over all of these things. This is the fasting of the elites. The very, very top. This is a level that every single one of us should try to achieve in the month of Ramadan. Say inshallah. We are going to try to achieve this very high level. Because when you do this, a person who achieved the very highest level, he will notice a change in himself after the month of Ramadan. And this is where the true test is. The true exam starts when the day of Eid has been announced, which we'll talk about inshallah later when we get to the end of Ramadan. But in the month of Ramadan, my dear brothers, let's not just fast, stay away from food, drink. And you know, it's very unfortunate. We have certain cultures in our society nowadays. We have these, iftar dinners. Yeah? Iftar dinners where we get together with our friends and families and colleagues and we go out to a restaurant and eat together and so on and so forth. Wallahu alam. My personal view on this is that you should stay away from these things. Ramadan is not a month of socializing. Ramadan is a month of isolation. It's the opposite. Ramadan is a month of isolation, which is why in the last 10 nights you have i'tikaf. Yeah? You have i'tikaf, which means you stay in the masjid, you isolate yourself from the dunya, and you connect with Allah Azza wa Jalla. We should cut down from socializing in the month of Ramadan, and that includes on a virtual level. If you have social media and you don't need it, get rid of it in the month of Ramadan. You have to take that firm step. Shaitan will start deceiving you, because now you see, these last few days are the last few days of Shaitan as well. Shaitan's days are numbered as well, because he knows he's going to get shackled in a bit. Right? He's got 1 week left to destroy you, to destroy your month of Ramadan. So now he's going to put these thoughts in your mind that, you know what? How are you going to survive 1 month without social media? You need social media. And he's going to try to make you justify it. You need to hear those reminders. But then you know yourself, you have to be honest with yourself, that you are going to waste so much time on social media. And as a result, you will never be able to achieve the highest level of fasting. Which is why, my dear brothers, the lesson that we must take away from today's khutbah is, we understand the virtue of fasting. We understand the objective of fasting. And now we understand the 3 levels of fasting. We have to think about this. Now I want to ask another question, and this is moving on to my next point, and inshallah I'll conclude on this point. And that is, where does the recitation of Quran and Quran in general come into the entire picture of Ramadan and fasting? I think it seems a bit random, right? If you take away the fact that, yes, the Quran was revealed in the month of Ramadan, but how is the Quran linked to fasting? How is the Quran linked to staying away from all of these things, from eating, drinking, and the different levels that we talked about? Where does the Quran fit in this puzzle? The Quran, you see what happens is taqwa, it only enters a soft heart. This is a reality we must understand. Taqwa never enters a hard heart. Hard heart meaning you've lived the entire life of sin. You never do tawbah, you never do istighfar. And as a result, your heart becomes hard. It is engulfed in darkness. Right? So now what happens? Allah Azza wa Jalla has made the month of Ramadan a month of Quran and a month of fasting. Where during the day we are fasting, we are staying away from these three things. We are trying to achieve the highest level of fasting. And then during the night we are engaged in listening to the Quran. Standing in Salah, listening to the recitation of the Quran. And during the day as well, while we are fasting, we are reciting Quran. We have targets in place, we have goals in place. That I want to complete X amount of khatms in the month of Ramadan. I want to memorize X amount of surahs in the month of Ramadan. And you make yourself targets, which is very good. But how is it linked? The Quran, one of the most powerful effects of the Quran that the scholars mentioned is that the Quran softens the hearts. You see how it's linked now? The Quran softens the hearts. The Quran softens the hearts to allow taqwa to enter that soft hearts. And this is how they are linked. And when you look at the power of the Quran, Allahu Akbar, an entire khutbah is necessary for this. But I'll mention a couple of points. Allah Azza wa Jalla in the famous verse of Surah Al-Hashr talks about how if this Quran was revealed upon a mountain, لَرَأَيْتَهُ خَاشِعًا مُتَصَدِّعًا مِنْ خَشْيَةِ اللَّهِ. You will see the mountain shaking. You will see the mountain trembling and crumbling out of the fear of Allah Azza wa Jalla. Two things can be understood from this verse. Number one, if you think that your heart is hard, then don't doubt the power of the Quran to break that hard heart. Because that Quran, if it was to be revealed upon a mountain, even that strong, firm mountain would crumble. The second thing that we're learning from this verse is, why is it that if the Quran was revealed upon a mountain, even the mountain, despite its strength, despite its size, despite its firmness, it would shake and it would crumble out of the fear of Allah. That we recite it every day, we listen to it every day, yet our hearts not tremble out of the fear of Allah. Something to think about. How is our relationship with the Quran? So now when the month of Ramadan comes, Allah Azza wa Jalla, straight after fasting, He talks about شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن. The month of Ramadan is a month in which the Quran was revealed. Because they go hand in hand. Quran and fasting. You are feeding your soul. You're depriving yourself from worldly pleasures. So that you free your body so that the Quran can feed the soul. So that fasting can feed the soul. Throughout the whole year we feed our bodies. We feed our bodies, we deprive our souls. We starve our souls. Ramadan is the opposite. We starve our bodies and feed the soul. Right? You know, youngsters are so passionate about going to the gym and developing six packs and so on and so forth, right? And you see them in the gym flexing in front of the mirror, okay? So you see, if only they had the same type of attitude when it comes to your soul, right? So you start, they start copying each other. Oh, bro, you're massive, man. Your biceps are, Allahu Akbar. How much you benching, bro? You benching 100 kg? Wow, that's crazy, yeah? And they get proper hyped up about it. Have you ever asked yourself, how strong is my soul? When it comes to Fajr Salah, you're lifting 100 kg, but you can't even lift your blankets. Truly the losers are those people who are physically strong, but spiritually weak. And truly the winners are those people who are spiritually strong, but physically weak. It reminds me of one incident, I'm going to finish on this inshallah. That one day Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu was climbing a tree. And while he was climbing this tree, a part of his shin became exposed. And Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, he was a young companion. And regarding his description, his physical description, they say that he was very, very skinny. Yeah? So when his shin became exposed, some of the Sahaba started laughing. Oh, look how skinny he is. Yeah? Yeah, look how skinny he is. As we say, skip leg day. Right? Okay? Look how skinny he is. So then the Prophet ﷺ, he said to the companions, why are you laughing at Ibn Mas'ud? He said, obviously, Allah, we're laughing with how small his shins are. Yeah? Very weak. He said, by Allah. The Prophet said this, by Allah, the shin of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu is more weighty than the entire world and what it contains. Right? And according to one narration, it is more weighty than Mount Uhud. We look at forms, we look at physique, but internally we don't have anything. You know, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he talked about the day of Qiyamah, the day of Qiyamah. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he talked about some of the fitan, some of the trials and tribulations that will afflict the ummah. The Sahaba asked the Messenger of Allah, will there be very few believers on that day when all of these fitan are going to come? Are the Muslims going to be few in number? The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said no. Rather, they are going to be large in number. That they're going to have no value. They're going to have no substance. Don't we see that today? We boast about Muslims being, or Islam being the fastest growing religion in the world. And yes, it's good. Alhamdulillah. Da'wah is spreading. Islam is spreading. And this is a prophecy of the Prophet ﷺ, that Islam will enter every household. However, what value do we have? Do we have substance? You know, and I'm going to talk, inshallah, one of the khutbahs in Ramadan. I'm going to talk specifically about the battles that took place in the month of Ramadan. The Battle of Badr. There were only 300 companions. 1,313. 1,000 mushrikeen. But yet, there was substance. Each one of those Sahaba who were partaking in the Battle of Badr were equivalent to 100 men. One man was equivalent to 100 men. Which is why Allah Azza wa Jalla, when He talks about the Battle of Badr in Surah Al-Anfal, Allah Azza wa Jalla says that when the mushrikeen would see the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they would think that they are twice in number. Even though there was only 313 of them. Why? Because they had substance. And that's why Allah Azza wa Jalla made them victorious in the Battle of Badr. And for your information, the Battle of Badr took place in the month of Ramadan. So we ask Allah Azza wa Jalla that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes Ramadan a blessed month for us. We ask that Allah Azza wa Jalla grants us the ability to be forgiven in the month of Ramadan. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla that Allah makes us from the people of the Quran. And that Allah Azza wa Jalla, if it is destined that this is our final Ramadan that we are going to ever witness, that Allah makes this Ramadan the best Ramadan that we have ever lived. And we ask Allah Azza wa Jalla that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts all of our ibadat in the month of Ramadan. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in.